Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of The More You Nole, a podcast about Florida State University. I'm your host, Mike, Director of Social Media for Florida State's Office of Admissions. Thanks for downloading this week's episode. If you want to ensure you get every episode of the show, be sure to subscribe to The More You Nole in Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. On this week's episode, I speak with Dr. Robert Reiser, Associate Dean for Research within Florida State's College of Education and 2000 recipient of the university's Distinguished Teaching Award, the highest such award at Florida State. We'll learn about why he chose to stay at Florida State after what was originally intended as a 3-year job, as well as his views on how the campus has changed over the years. We'll also touch on his research on instructional design and computer-based instruction and how students can set themselves up to succeed in an online learning environment. Please enjoy the episode. All right, so we're here with Dr. Robert Reiser from Florida State's College of Education. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Robert Reiser. I'm the Associate Dean for Research in the College of Education at Florida State. I've been at FSU 44 years, believe it or not. My wife and I thought we'd be here 3 years, and it's 44 years later, and we're still here.
That's funny. I thought I'd be here for about 4 years, and then now I'm here like 18 years later.
Well, it's a nice place to be. It
is, yeah. People have a way of sticking around. They just kind of fall in love with it. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit about the College of Education and what you do there?
My job in the College of Education as Associate Dean for Research is to help our faculty get support for the various types of research activities they engage in. I also taught in a program called Instructional Systems for about 35 years. That program focuses on preparing people to design training programs for business and industry, which leads me to state that the College of Education just doesn't focus on preparing teachers. There's all kinds of career opportunities available to students who take classes in the College of Education. We have graduates going to counseling, graduates going to sport management, who take leadership positions in universities and in K-12 education, students who end up studying educational policy at state and local levels. So there's a wide variety of career opportunities for students who study in the College of Education.
So you're involved primarily with research now, but how did you get involved with the instructional systems in your field of work?
Well, that's very interesting. Well, as I said, instructional systems really started out as being media education. People who went through the program that is now called instructional systems, many of them wanted to be school library media specialists. But over the years, and this is back in the late 60s, early 70s, people in business and industry started seeing the value of using mediated instruction delivered by various media like television, film, and so on, to help improve the quality of learning and instruction in business settings and in the military as well, improving training. So the field expanded from just simply teaching people to be school library media specialists to teaching people how to systematically design good instruction that could be delivered in any one of a variety of environments. Me personally, I wanted to be a school library media specialist. I got accepted at a program at Arizona State in that field. And once I got into the program, I saw there were many opportunities besides just being a school library media specialist for someone who was learning these skills. And I focused on instructional design / instructional systems, eventually graduated from Arizona State. And fortunately, I got an opportunity to get a job at Florida State, took it, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, that's quite a story. So you've been here for, like you said, I think 44 years. How do you feel the campus has changed over your time?
Oh, the campus has changed dramatically, much for the better. When I came here, it was the east end of the campus, where there's Ruby Diamond and some of the old dormitories, was very beautiful. It had this Gothic or Jacobean revival architecture, and all the buildings were very nice. And the traditional way you'd look at a college or expect a college campus to look. But as you went further west on the campus, kind of to the middle of the campus, you saw a hodgepodge of modern buildings, traditional buildings, and so on. But fortunately, starting in the 1990s, there was a big push to go back to a more traditional look on campus. And many of the buildings you see west of what used to be not Call Street, Woodward. Many of the buildings there were designed in this Gothic revival, a Jacobean revival architecture. So we have a much more beautiful campus than not only in terms of the buildings themselves, but the greenery. They've done a fabulous job in the past 20 years of making this a very beautiful campus to walk across. If you go across the main east-west walkway, which is Call Street. It's just a beautiful walk there. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Woodward Street used to go right through the middle of campus. A lot of traffic went through there. They cut that off now, and it's basically a pedestrian thoroughfare. So from what was a decent campus, but not beautiful, is now a really beautiful campus. I would definitely say it's one of the most beautiful campuses in the Florida State University system.
You know, it's funny. You came from Arizona State. I seem to remember our campus started getting really beautiful right after we hired the head of grounds who used to work at Arizona State.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, well, he's done a great job. Oftentimes when I see people who are working on the grounds, I go up to them and say, you guys are doing a wonderful job, because the greenery is just spectacular. First of all, we were lucky because we had lots of beautiful oak trees on the campus to begin with. And we're set in not in a large city like some of the other campuses in the state university system are. So we had some natural beauty here to begin with, but they've really enhanced that between the buildings they've built and some of the shrubbery they've put in. So it's just a gorgeous campus.
Yeah, they've done a really good job, like you said, especially in the last 20 years. Like I said, I dated myself. I've been here 18 years now, and my first day of class was the day they shut down Woodward Avenue.
You're very lucky, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and speaking of our facilities, you can find the FSU facilities account. I know they're on Facebook, and I think they're on Instagram, and they've got a really good photographer who posts just some really pretty photos of campus. And they've got, like, obviously really good gardeners and botanists on staff. So they've got really good descriptions. So they'll post a beautiful photo of a plant, and then they'll give you like a whole paragraph about the whole history of this plant and like how, like, you know, what it does, how it helps the environment, or what its place on our campus is. So it's you wouldn't think it'd be that interesting to learn about the grounds of a university, but I'm shocked at how many quality posts I see come across their accounts.
That's interesting. The home in which we live, oftentimes when I'm walking around campus, I say, gee, I'd like to have a plant like that in my yard. And I haven't realized that they had information like that. So I think we're going to go there and take a look at that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the College of Education. So obviously you did some teaching there, and now you handle research. So can you give us a bit of an overview about how research works at a major university like Florida State?
Yes. Well, all faculty at a major research university like Florida State are expected to engage in research activities to further people's knowledge about various topics. It can range. I know most people think, when they think of research, they think of hard science and people in biology and physics and chemistry. But really, in almost any academic endeavor, research is being conducted. Historians are doing research, looking back at the history of things. People in the arts are doing research to create new ways of presenting information, to find about the background of history in that area. So, and of course, in the hard sciences, there's a lot of interesting research. Sociology, every department you can think of has faculty engaging in research. Faculty, oftentimes, in order to do good research, need graduate students, or in many cases, undergraduates. And I'll talk in a few minutes about the undergraduate research opportunities here. But faculty oftentimes rely on graduate students and undergraduate students to help them conduct the research. They also need money to conduct the research, and that's where my role comes in. I work with my faculty to help them find federal funding or funding from private foundations to support the research activities they engage in. Why do they need funding to do this research? Well, oftentimes there's research participants involved, so they have to give them some funds in order to have them engage in the research. There's travel involved. Money is needed for that. Faculty take time to do the research, so a portion of faculty salaries paid with research dollars. So there's a lot that underlies the research that's being conducted.
Yes, I know you'd mentioned, obviously, people think of graduate students when they think of research, but there are opportunities for undergraduate students to get involved at research, especially at Florida State. Can you go into that?
Yes, there's a program at Florida State called the Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program. It's the only program of this nature in the entire state university system. And it gives first-year and second-year undergraduates the opportunity to work with a faculty member on his or her research project. And as I looked at the list of projects that have recently been conducted, it runs across all the disciplines you can imagine, all the different colleges, programs that I just mentioned earlier, and many more. The program involves you having both an assistantship where you work with a faculty member conducting his research. There's a colloquium where you work with the faculty where he or she provides you with a lot of interesting information and you share with one another the knowledge you've gained from the research you did, and a presentation. So at the end of your research project, you, with other people who've been part of the program, present your research at a conference. So it's a really fabulous opportunity for first and second year undergraduates to learn about the research project, engage in the research. And in doing so, you're not only learning research skills, you're becoming much more interested in the subject matter that you're studying. And I think that's the key actually to careers, getting interested and excited about a topic and then deciding to pursue that topic as a career.
Yeah, and I think the undergraduate research opportunity program, like you said, it's the only program of this kind at a university, and a state university in Florida. It's actually something I got a bit of a peek at myself when I was a graduate student. I was doing some research with one of my faculty members, and we had an undergraduate student from that program on our team. So I got to kind of see it, kind of from an outside view of what it was like. But from what I could tell, it seemed like a really great opportunity. I mean, that's why they put the word opportunity in the title, I think, because it's a really great thing to put on your resume really early in your career, to say, oh, I did research with a faculty member in my freshman or sophomore year. You can put that on your CV, and when you're applying to grad school, it'll make you look like a really strong candidate right out the gate.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if students if they Google undergraduate research opportunity program at Florida State, there's some interesting videos there of both faculty and students who've engaged in this activity. I think you'll find that really interesting. It was interesting that you mentioned that this is a good way to put on your resume to help you get into graduate school. We have two other interesting opportunities. This is at the graduate level for people who want to engage in research. One is called the 3-minute thesis competition for doctoral students. So as they move through their doctoral program, they have to, in 3 minutes, explain what their research is all about, and they do that in front of a large audience. It's a wonderful program. I go to it every year, and I work with my faculty, my graduate students, to help them prepare for this. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for graduates to learn how to explain their research in language that their mom and dad, anybody in the street, can understand. There's a master's degree version of this, too, called Masters in 4. For undergraduates, getting involved in the undergraduate research opportunity program is a good way to get started in a career in research. And then these great opportunities at the graduate level exist as well. I think you don't know how exciting it can be to get involved in research until you actually do it.
Yeah, it seems really boring from the outset, but if you find a topic that you're really passionate in, you find that it's actually incredibly easy to just dig really deep into it and just start learning as much as you possibly can, and trying to really push the boundaries of what humanity knows about that subject.
Yes, and you can deal with a topic that's very esoteric, or you can deal with real life issues and problems that you yourself are interested in. For example, a lot of my research as a faculty member dealt with things that my kids were dealing with. For example, when my kids were very little, they watched Sesame Street every day. I said, wow, I wonder if we could help improve the way children learn from watching Sesame Street. So I did several studies where I had adults interact with kids as they were watching Sesame Street, in some cases asking them questions, in some cases giving them feedback. Oh, you got that right. That's great. So I was able to do some research on topics that were very pertinent to me. You'd really be surprised at the range of things you can research and help improve learning. As a matter of fact, just a couple of years ago, they did a review at the 50th anniversary of the creation of Sesame Street, of all the research that's been done on that topic. And I was very surprised and pleased to see that my research was cited there among the many others that were cited.
Oh, that's so cool. I would be so thrilled if my name showed up on Sesame Street one day.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I was reading a little bit more about your research, and I understand you have some research evaluating web and computer-based instruction, which is obviously like a huge thing all of a sudden with everybody learning remotely. So I know we have our summer students. They'll be starting their classes online, which is a first really for Florida State. You have online classes here and there, but freshmen don't generally start like by going fully online. So I'm wondering if you have any advice on them on how to prepare themselves to succeed in that environment.
Yeah, one thing that we really try to do when we're offering instruction remotely is try to set up a situation where the students can interact with one another and with the professor. So even though they're not in the classroom, they're getting plenty of opportunities to have discussions with the faculty member, and not just with the faculty member, but with other students as well. You'd be surprised. As a classroom teacher for 35 years, I found that many times the students, in answering questions that I asked, and I asked lots of questions, my classes were very participatory, had a lot of interesting information to share with one another. And I'd often say, wow, I didn't realize that. Let's discuss that a little further. So one of the ideas of remote learning, online learning, to make it effective and efficient, is to set up an environment where students are engaged in a lot of discussion with one another, where they're engaged in inquiry type of activities, not just having the professor give them a bunch of notes they have to read and study and then respond to some kind of test. So the more interaction we can create online, the better. So I think students who are going to be taking courses remotely really should take advantage of the opportunities to discuss things with one another, share their views with one another online. Interestingly, with the improvement in the various media that we have available today, there's many opportunities to show videos online, to get students to ask questions in response to the videos, to examine things via the videos. So I think there's lots of great opportunities for students to learn and to enjoy learning online.
Right. So kind of dovetailed perfectly into my next question, talking about how teachers are using more videos. So you've got a couple decades of teaching experience. How do you think technology has changed the way that classes are taught?
Yeah, I think even if a face-to-face instruction, technology makes a tremendous difference. As technology improved over the years, I started making use of streaming video in my class. I'd bring in experts from other universities who knew more about a particular subject than I was teaching than I did. And there's many people who know a lot more about subject matter than I do. And we would have them not give a lecture. What I would like to do is have them I'd ask them questions that were directly related to what we were learning about. They would start responding. And before they even started responding, I would say, don't be surprised if I interrupt you a lot, because I want to make sure that this stays on target. So they'd say something and I'd say something. Oh, that's very interesting. Students, what do you think about what Professor X just said? Or I'd say to Professor X, oh, that's something we just studied. Could you elaborate on that point? So we tried to make it as interactive as possible. So technology enabled us to bring in other people as speakers. But another thing it enabled us to do was to set up class discussions that continued beyond the time of the end of the class. In my classes, I would often have small group discussions. And after the small group discussions were over, I'd have the groups come together and share with one another what they had discussed in their group. Many times, time in class would run out. So what we would do is have the students continue their discussions online after class. And I would ask students to look at one another's responses and decide which of the responses from the various groups were most interesting to them and why. So it created many opportunities for discussions that continued beyond class and for more interaction between students, which I think is crucial. Students are going to be very pleased, I think, when they come to Florida State to see that many professors offer very interesting and exciting classes where it isn't simply listen to what I have to say, memorize it, and there'll be a test. Faculty work very hard to make sure that classes are interactive, that students get a chance to participate, even in very large classes, that students can explore new ideas. So it's a very different learning environment in many classes than you often find in what you might think of as traditional classes, or in many classes you may have taken in high school, although instruction in high school, middle school, and elementary schools also changed greatly because of technology.
All right, so I want to get a bit back to the College of Education. I know you kind of touched on this a little bit before, but outside of teaching, because that's obviously what everyone thinks of when they think of the College of Education, is they think, I'm going to go be a teacher. But I know there's a lot more to the College of Education than that. So can you go over kind of some of the other opportunities that are available there?
Sure. Well, the one I'm most familiar with, of course, is in the field of instructional design. So students who go through our program in instructional design learn how to systematically design instructions so that it's likely to help people actually learn. And because businesses military organizations, government agencies are very interested in making sure that people learn the skills, that the employees in their companies learn the skills that are being taught. They oftentimes hire instructional designers to do a good job of designing the instruction, the training that's being delivered, and use a variety of media to keep it interesting. So that's just one. There's sports management. Students in sports management learn how to work in the athletic environment, serving as managers of sport programs, working with athletes to help them improve their careers. There's educational policy studies where students who go through that program learn how to set educational policy at both the state, local, and national level. There's educational leadership where students learn how to be educational leaders like principals, school superintendents, and so on. There's educational psychology where students learn the theories of learning and how to help students learn better by applying those theories. There's sports psychology, which is very interesting, where students learn how to improve athlete performance by looking at the psychological factors that affect their learning and their performance. There's counseling, school counseling, individual counseling, where you learn how to be a counselor. There's so many programs that you can take advantage of. I strongly encourage students who are interested in education to not just assume that it only involves teaching. Go to the website for the College of Education and look at the variety of programs we have available there. In addition to that, we have a career day once a year where faculty from the various programs describe their opportunities to their students. Take a look at me, my own experience. I was going to be a school library media teacher. That's what was my goal. And once I found out about the other opportunities that were available to me, I ended up following this career path and have ended up having a wonderful career, one that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah, I think a lot of people end up going to college for one thing and end up doing something slightly different, maybe. Like I went to college for my undergrad degree was in marketing, but then I immediately started working in the Office of Admissions. So I got to apply all my marketing knowledge, but it wasn't anywhere near where I thought I was going to. I thought I'd be going to some kind of skyscraper in Manhattan or Chicago or something and working at, a desk or in a cubicle. But I ended up just staying at Florida State. I took a job there and I enjoyed it, and I just ended up staying, and I've been able to take all the knowledge I learned in, what I thought I was going to school for business. And now I'm in education administration, but I'm still kind of doing marketing. I'm helping us recruit students. And so it's really interesting to see, like you said, you went to school for one thing, but you end up doing something kind of just a little bit different.
It's interesting you state that, because it sounded like what you first studied was directly applicable or somewhat applicable to what you're doing now. That isn't always going to be the case. So for first year and second year undergrads, don't worry so much, I've made this decision, is what I'm going to major in. I'm stuck with this. I changed my major about 4 times as an undergraduate, starting out as a math major, then an accounting major. Then I ended up majoring in economics. I never used economics, except perhaps in my personal life a little bit. But somehow or other, I got into teaching. I wanted to be a social studies teacher. Then I thought about, school library media, and eventually ended up in the field that I'm in. And it's been a delightful journey, and I don't regret any of it. So for those of you who are first going to be freshmen or even in your second or third years of college, don't be too concerned if you're worried about whether you've chosen the right major. There's always new directions to take.
Yeah, and we have the numbers to back it up. Students are probably going to change their major. Most students change it at least once. I know I changed mine twice. You changed yours 4 times. Yes. But it's definitely something that is kind of expected. All right, so now I've got some fun kind of quick fire questions. We're getting towards the end of our interview. What's your favorite thing about Florida State?
I think the spirit at Florida State. Students are very enthusiastic. Faculty work together beautifully, which isn't always the case at other universities. I love the campus. So you asked me to mention one, but I think there are many. Also, I really like the fact that we've really increased the quality of the students in the program. We have students now who have very high GPAs, who do very well on the SAT. And you see that in the classroom. You see students are very engaged and very active. So all those things make Florida State a wonderful place to be.
All right, what's your favorite local food? If you've got to, leave your office and go grab lunch somewhere, where do you head?
Oh, that's interesting. First thing I was going to say, if just talking about food, is, being a Northerner, as you can tell from my accent, I never had tasted grits before. So when I came down to Florida and had grits, I said, wow, this is pretty good. I like that stuff. But in terms of places to eat locally, there's a little fast food place not far from campus, and I'm sure it's in other parts of the state as well, called Nuke's. And I love the salads they have there, the sandwiches they have there. I enjoy going there. There's a place that's been around for, I don't know, from before I came on campus, called the Shake Shack, which is on the south side of campus.
Oh, the sweet shop?
Yeah, Sweet Shop. That's right. It's a double S. Is a really fun place and a cute atmosphere there that you can go. So those are two of the places. Another place I like very much is just on the corner of campus. It's called Spirit, Spear, Spear, like the Seminole Spear.
Right.
IT. Very good place to eat. So there's loads of places around campus where you can get a nice bite to eat at lunchtime.
I'll tell you, if you really like grits, I'll give you a tip and our listeners a tip too. Drive out to Bradley's Country Store. You can get smoked sausage, and they make their own grits, and they are the best grits I've ever. You take them, you bring them home, you make them yourself. They're the best grits I've ever had. I don't buy them anywhere else now.
That's great. We're familiar with Bradley's Country Store as well. And, students who are coming here, you can go 5, 6, 7 miles out of Tallahassee and you're in the country, which is really beautiful. Bradley's, as Mike mentions, about a dozen miles out. In addition to having wonderful sausages, grits, and other foods, they have an annual festival where they bring out these old-timey cars from the early 1900s. You can ride in them. They have clogging. It's a really fun day to go out there. I used to take my kids there every year.
Yeah, it's good fun. Okay, my last question for our interview. If you could only give one piece of advice to our incoming students, what would it be?
I think get involved in as many activities at the university that you can. There's so many things other than taking classes that you can do. The more you can get involved in extracurricular activities, the more you're going to enjoy your college experience. It's a wonderful 4 years, and to take advantage of these opportunities is something you're going to really cherish throughout your life and look back on. So I'd encourage you to not only take classes and do the best you can in those classes, but get involved in many extracurricular activities of whatever nature.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being here with us today, Dr. Robert Reiser, Florida State's College of Education, and go Noles. Thanks again to Dr. Reiser for his time, and also to Jeannie Kroger in the College of Education for helping to arrange the interview. If you'd like to learn more about the College of Education and their numerous programs, check out education.fsu.edu. You can also follow them on social media. They're at FSU Education on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and FSU.education on Facebook. If you enjoyed the episode, we'd really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day and giving us a rating and a review on iTunes. Please also share the show with any of your friends who you think might enjoy it. Our theme music is the world-renowned Florida State University Marching Chiefs. Recordings courtesy of Mark Records, Clarence, New York, markcustom.com. If you have any questions you'd like answered or feedback on the show, please email admissions@fsu.edu and include the word podcast in the subject line. You can also reach us on social media. We're at FSU Admissions on Twitter and Facebook, and at FSU.admissions on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to the show in Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Thanks again for listening, and go Noles.